I'm. My audio wasn't working the whole time. My goodness, I just realized my audio wasn't working. Sorry, guys. Ugh, been chipping my tooth for like 30 minutes here with my mic muted. All right, so anyway, going on, AVGO here looking at a 50% move, coming back down to the support level. We might get a quick short out of that, and certainly a nice little bearish 1-for-1 out of the top. So keep an eye on that one. Might get lucky there. CRM, I know I was talking about CRM while I was on mute. I was talking about it going into earnings, and I certainly had a move marked out on that thing as my screen goes blue. A nice little 2-for-1 was possible. It could have ran of 252 into the earnings. I don't like to hold into earnings, but I do like to either A, sell options, or B, scalp the earnings. But this thing made a nice 50% retracement already. It even peaked outside during the earnings call there quite a bit. However, when I see it hit that target, I'm usually going to sit and wait and see what happens. But here we are finding support on the previous move. So maybe we can finish that business here. So watch for accumulation on CRM here. And we could see this thing finish off that 2-for-1 move to that 252 target anyway. But certainly take that with a grain of salt and just look at the previous control areas for a possible short trade setup. These descending channels are kind of a dime a dozen lately. They're easy to spot, and I love easy trades, so certainly one to watch. They had a pretty good earnings call. I mean, they kind of beat and had lots of good numbers, but, well, I guess Main Street didn't like it very much, and a bunch of them kind of took profit there. And that is kind of a parabolic move. It exceeded a 1-for-1. Okay. But I'm going to start taking interest in this thing over the next week or so. I'm going to possibly watch for accumulation and a breakout to resume that 252 target. Keep it on the radar, but definitely trade the break and not the setup on this one. Looking at a couple others. Let me see ZS here. Yikes, that was a heck of a return. So look at this thing, and this is great. Another channel. Let me look down from the top. We'll start putting some math on the chart for you. I know not everybody likes to sit around and watch me draw pictures, but sometimes I draw some pretty nice ones when they have, you know, profits attached to them. They look good. I'm never going to get this line straight. I should have put a pivot in there, but whatever. So we've got this descending channel, pretty easy spot. We had a break out of this channel down to the 200 period on a weekly chart. Kind of held support there, creeped back along, retraced previous resistance. So this channel isn't voided, but there's a new trend line to pay attention to, and that starts here and goes there. So now we've exceeded a resistance point, and we're looking to set up a possible measured move on this. However, I think we're going to extend and return to this previous resistance area and support. I like to draw on these wicks when I see them, even on a weekly chart, and know where the liquidity is. There was a lot of limit orders that had to change hands here to make this appear. Definitely bullish as all get at this week. Now we're above that zone. Watch for accumulation here. We could see continuation in this thing, and we might just see this double bottom shake out into a couple of targets. Let me draw those on the chart here, and I'll use solid lines for that. Possible 188.50 target coming out of this. Certainly be careful in this. It's quite volatile. And if you look at this as a measured move, it kind of fits the bill to run that. So sure, we could have a nice bullish extension on that, but pay attention for the next few days. Kind of watch what happens in this area. It's got to hold that previous resistance and support and accumulate here at the bottom of our next move. I could say I'm looking at some options plays on this one. It's looking interesting to me now. And there's not a whole lot of stuff that is out there that interests me other than a couple of big ones like Amazon and Steven's dog of the Dow, you know, Intel Corp. Certainly kind of setting up. And I'll get into Intel in a minute here. Other than that, the only thing I can see where there's some possible sector rotation is something I looked at last week, and I'm actually doing pretty good with it. This has been some decent yield on selling puts. I've been getting into WTI and just kind of taking a starter position on it as it creeps along the regression line from this descending channel. It's kind of playing with this key pivot area around the $4 mark, and I'm taking some small positions in here just because the sector looks like it could rotate to me. If you look at the weekly chart, it's kind of in a critical area previously, so I think we got a good chance of hitting the low side of the 50% retracement of this channel. I got like a 530, 540 target on it for long term. You know, it's a whole dollar bill move, but I'm more interested in looking at the options income that I can make on a very low cost outlay. So I'm looking for selling some puts on this as I continue to run it. I'm looking to get a sign and increase the position, decrease the cost basis a little bit, and just kind of work it out. Eventually I want to be selling some monthly covered calls on this thing. It's not the best yield for a wheel trade, but it's good enough. I like it to where I can get some trades in there. Let's see here. I do apologize for my audio being off for like most of this broadcast, so I'm going to go back over a couple things too. Looking at Intel Corp. And I've got this set up. I've had it in mind for quite a while. Again, descending channel. There's your low side of the 50% retracement of that channel. And we kind of accumulated. We broke a key resistance level on this big old accumulation pattern here outside the channel. Analyst target was $32, and it certainly rejected that pretty cleanly, as it usually does when the analysts put a target on it. They started talking about that target, I think, in the beginning of the previous week, and sure enough, you know, retail chased it right to the damn limit. So we know how that happens. In the meantime, I've been rolling some swap strategies in this thing that have been just killing it. I made my 1-for-1. I have debit spreads expiring on the 16th that are still just doing very well, but I've been rotating a short leg in and out of that debit spread over and over and over again, and I've accumulated over 1,000% return on that, just generating income from a long options position that is slowly deteriorating, but I've done well with it. Made the final conversion into a butterfly this morning, and I think I'm just going to sit tight with that and let it roll. Meantime, I've also rolled out a new position on that with July 21st expiration. And again, the same thing. I'm going to be swing trading the short leg of a debit spread. I'm a little further up the chain here. I've got like 38 and 40 spread. So we'll keep that rolling. And it's just been great to be able to trade options on this thing while it just kind of goes basically nowhere in range. And if it gets loose and starts hitting up for some news, $37 is a pretty clean target. We could hit the 2-for-1 and pull this thing up to $39.55, $39.50. And if this thing goes and resumes and surprises the crap out of everybody, or if it picks up on the AI news a little more strongly, or something comes out, we could see this thing do some pretty impressive moves. So certainly don't take your eyes off this thing. Also realize it's got a fairly large cap, so it takes a lot of money to make this thing move. But that's also what's great about it, because it's also got plenty of options yield on this thing. And man, I'm certainly doing a good job taking advantage of that. I wanted to kind of get into a little bit of detail on how I take these trades, and it's just certainly just my focus is generate income on long positions, plain and simple. So if I'm selling calls and puts, cool, I can wheel trade this just fine, but for the amount of outlay I'd have to have into this thing, even running a couple contracts at a time with my portfolio size, it wouldn't be feasible when I could just take advantage of selling leverage against leverage. So that's why I like to rotate a short leg on a long leg and flip that in and out of a debit spread. And I can also later on convert it into a butterfly and leave it alone. And that's certainly what I've done with that June 16th expiration. I can let the butterfly do its thing. If price hits the center of my butterfly, which is $36, by expiration or about an hour before the expiration date ends, I could make some serious cash on that. So I have a free lotto ticket on this thing that's already made me all kinds of income flipping in and out of it. and I can just leave it alone. I don't have to care what happens to it. But if it gets there, cool, I can profit the whole thing. If not, if it expires worthless, I'm not going to sweat it because I've already locked in profit converting it to a butterfly anyway. As for the rollout position, I'll continue to probably swing trade the short leg on that spread just like I did before and take advantage of all of the range trading that it has to offer. And it's certainly got lots of range trading in the chart. So this is always a chart that will interest me. I do like trading this one, and options income has just been great on it. Just trading against leverage. I don't have to wheel trade this traditionally with a long position in the stock. I can just swing trade on the leverage. Working this thing out, I think it's got a bright future for producing some serious options income all the live long day, and I'm just happy with it. As far as one of my other favorites that I'm looking at for, and I haven't taken a position on it yet, but I want to, and I know it's a company I've trash talked many times over, and man, I enjoyed shorting the tar of that thing when it was so overbought. It was ridiculous, right? I traded the break across this tweezer here, and I got most of this candle and a bunch of this. You can see one of my old trend lines here. I've traded all of that one for one down, went to all my little pivot lines. I scalped every little bit of that. Once it started getting a little less volatile in that, I took it out of leveraged positions on spreads and converted into just basically day trading and swing trading puts on this thing until I got to the bottom of it. I've ignored most of this range, and now it's starting to accumulate at the base of that range. Today we had a nice strong bullish move, and we have a double bottom reversal in play with a 50% target of $9.15. I'm a bull on Peloton. I can't believe I'm saying that. But overall, they had their little recall, and that's what brought it down. And you know, certainly, as Buffett would say, you know, buy when they're afraid and sell when they're greedy. Pretty simple process, you know, easy to follow. This part of this channel is right here, and certainly I'm going to add more pivots where I see them. $11 and some change is about the low end of the half of this descending trend, so I can certainly take advantage of that. I might even go so far as to say I could start selling options on this thing and wheel trading it. I looked at the puts this morning. You could have sold an $8 put at the open this morning for $50 just a week out. And that is some incredible yield on what the outlay is on this thing. You could certainly make some very fast options income on this thing. And I'm certainly taking interest in and looking at what the chart's telling me. I don't necessarily like the company. I don't necessarily like the CEO and some of the decisions he's made with the company. And I certainly don't like the fact that it got just absolutely hyped into the stratosphere and then shorted down by the people who knew better. But we're at a level now where we can start maybe taking advantage of this, and this would be one heck of a target if you got long here. So that's what I'm looking at. That is a very incredible return just on the equity if you go long on this thing, but I like to generate income while I'm sitting with it. So today, looking at the 30-minute, we got a nice clean 1-for-1 out of the gate. Very clean setup. Getting long just on the open this morning would have been a great idea. Certainly, I'm going to draw some pictures for you. I love drawing. I'm just going to drag this one up. I don't need to stack it. Pretty easy to see. Target 1-for-1 measured move made. Beautiful. Going into this thing, I would love to see it pull back to the bottom of this box before I really start to get long on it, but I think 775 would be a great target to get long. And it can certainly run parabolic and just ignore anything I say. You know, it doesn't have to care what I think. So certainly it can hit $9 very shortly. You know, it's on the board. In the meantime, I'm looking to start selling some options on this thing, and I might just do it with leverage on leverage first, and then when it reaches my price target, I might just consider going for a wheel trade on that, because I mean, at $8 stock, very minimal outlay. The natural 2-week yield on this thing is already in excess of 20%. So the 4-week options, not much better. The natural yield on those is like 30%, but that's pretty great. That won't stick around long though, because this is volatility making those numbers pump. Natural that occurred throughout this phase here, and I think I remember commenting about it a couple times in the chat, where during this time, the monthly natural yield on the options income for a standard, the old traditional wheel trade, not the modified version that I trade, was generating about 20% yield on both sides of price. So like combining your puts and calls, selling them short in this mess, generated a 20% yield on outlay. Now it's going parabolic, of course. The volatility is there. Those options will be more expensive, and that's certainly what I love to take advantage of in the wheel trade strategy. Is I like to take that increased volatility, let the price spike, sell it high, and then buy it back cheap to close and rinse and repeat. And that's certainly given us an opportunity here in this current price zone. So, like I said, you don't have to like the company, you just have to like the chart, and the chart's going to tell you what to do with it. So certainly keep an eye on this thing. I think it's going to be a nice income generating stock, and it already is. So yeah, I like it. Definitely not not even going to bother looking at the fundamentals on this thing. I'm just going to trade it. All right then, guys. I apologize for not having my audio working for most of this broadcast, but it's a dumb mistake. I keep forgetting about this little mute button here, and sometimes I'll just start talking and not realize it's on. In the meantime, keep trading forward and get into some option strategies if you haven't yet. Certainly start learning that stuff. I always say with the Bullish Bears members, I always say learn price action first, of course. Learn how to make at least a quick analysis of some long-term chart trading. You don't have to go scalp a 5-second chart to become a good trader, but the practice you get from it is certainly going to help. Once you get a good grasp on price action and you've kind of tripped over the ability to trade options by trial and error, certainly you're going to make some bad trades before you make some good ones. Sometimes you'll get beginner's luck and just make a killing out of the gate, and make sure you don't get complacency from that. But once you learn to trade options, I like to tell people that learning the complex option strategies it's easier to learn that than it is to learn price action trading. So get some price action trading down first, cut your teeth on options, and if you're a buy and hold type, start learning how to sell options, because there's always going to be speculators and there's always going to be people looking to insure their position, and that's what that premium cost is. People are paying a premium to speculate, or they're paying a premium to insure. You're just selling insurance. So sell some policies, and when you sell a put policy, that's essentially what you're doing. You're collecting a premium on that and literally getting paid to sit on your hands and wait for the market to come to you. So keep it all in the books, and hopefully everybody has a nice green week, or had a nice green week, and I can't wait till next week. Things are going to really start picking up for volatility next week, I think, and this week has certainly been a precursor to that. So I'll see you next time, guys. Thanks again.